I'm going to call the June meeting of the Washington County Finance and Budget Committee to order. I have asked our Vice Chairman, J.P. Duncan, to do the prayer and pledge.
You bow with me, please. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to serve the county. God, we just pray for wisdom tonight as we oversee the county business. Lord, we pray that we make good decisions on behalf of our constituents. Lord, we love you. In Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, J.P. Duncan. It's time to adopt the agenda. Do I have any motions?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to adopt the agenda by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Ussery. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Before we get into our reports, I want to do a quick update. This Friday was our deadline to have the budget submitted from the officials, and so that's on track. We'll try to gather all those up, compile them, and get those delivered to people. Please be on the lookout. I'm going to work with Ms. Collins. We will be calling special sessions through July and August to review the budgets, much like we did last year, to try to ensure that we give everybody enough time and availability to be here and present their budgets. So just be on the lookout for that. Our monthly reports, Treasurer Hill.
All right, 4.1, Treasurer's Summary for the month of May. All balances are strong. Revenue is at or above where it should be at this time of year. If you notice the first line in general, over $7 million came in and just $3 million was expended. Reason for the big gap there is the property tax settlement from April that we received in May came in. Look at the bottom of this same report, 72.9 beginning balance, almost 87 million ending balance. And again, most of that increase was due to property tax settlement. 4.2, this is a new report I'll start putting in the packet every month, just so everybody can kind of keep up with the ARPA money. I did submit the request for the second $23 million, submitted on May 17th. Hopefully we will receive it in the next week or two or 3 weeks. But anyway, the obligations are 29.5 and expenses are just under 7 million. 4.3, the property taxes, as I was talking about just a second ago, 6.1 came in. That's compare that to last year at 4.9. But they're kind of roller coasters. You can't really say that it's that much better than the year prior yet anyway. 4.4, 1 cent sales tax. Did see a decline. But if you look at May of 2021, how big it was, 912,000. That was from the stimulus checks. And of course, this year we couldn't quite compete with that, so, and the census also, so we were down in the 1 cent. 4.5, the quarter-cent jail tax. This is a more truer indicator of where we are, and we were up almost 4%, and that was overcoming that huge month last year. So doing well in sales tax. 4.6, the different distributions. See a few more negatives than we have been, but again, not bad, everything considered. 4.7, the half-cent state sales tax for roads. Came in, it did manage to be in a positive, but not by much. So the sales tax on the statewide level wasn't quite as strong as Northwest Arkansas. And that's all I have.
Questions for Treasurer Hill? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, tonight we're going to invite Ms. Wilson up for the employees' insurance report.
Hey, everyone. I know Charles introduced me last time. I'm Jennifer Wilson, and I manage the JTS team for Washington County, and we work closely with your HR department and your employees on a monthly basis. So there'll be months that I'm here, and then there'll be months that Charles is here. So he'll be back next month. So the beginning balance at the beginning of May was right at 3.1 of 3,158,000, and then the ending balance did increase. So it's up to 3,168,000. And the biggest driver of that, you can see under the USAble mutual insurance line, the claims did go down in the month of May. So that is good news. I did track to look how June was running, and it's looking down as well. So that helps us going into the renewal. Those are the big numbers that we're using to focus on the 2023 budget for sure. If you look at the cash flow, and this is an internal report that we use based on these numbers, we're always looking at the drug claims, which have stayed really consistent, which is huge in the market that we're in with the cost of medications. Those have all stayed consistent. And the medical claims were lower in January and February, but then took a pretty good dive up in March, but then have been coming back down, which is what we're really focused on. We are always looking on this report at the total claims column, where it shows 1.6, and then looking at where the reinsurance carrier expected us to be around this time of the year. And we're running right below maximum, and so that's good news going into the renewal. The medical claims themselves are up, so we're looking at creative strategies to help better educate the employees and maybe make some positive benefit changes to help drive those costs down going into 2023.
Any questions for Ms. Wilson? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
JP Madison?
When did Washington County stop providing birth control coverage for women?
I'm not aware that it has been excluded. I could look
Okay.
into it for you.
Yeah, that would be great. 'Cause
Yes.
I've heard some complaints from
Okay.
employees.
Do you know if it was certain ones, or if
It
you've
was
heard
all
all?
of them,
Okay,
is my understanding.
we'll check and I will report back by
Thanks so
tomorrow.
much.
Is that
Yeah,
good?
okay, thank
Let me
you.
make a note.
All right. Comptroller Worthen, that's him. Oh.
Six point one is summary statement of operations, expenses by fund and department. And after 5 months, if expenses were linear, we should be at about 42%, and we're, for general overall, we're at about 37%. Then for all the funds combined overall, we're at 35.7%. And nothing looks out of the ordinary. Then 6.2 is the unappropriated reserve balance report. And it shows the effects of the May ordinances that were passed with the carryover ordinances and the salary sweep ordinances, and net general ended up going up a little bit to 13.7 million. And that's all I had.
Questions for Comptroller Worthen? JP Essery?
Thank you. Do you have any idea why the building and grounds is completely, they seem to be far beyond what, they're at 70%, and that's quite a bit over the 38%.
Grounds are,
The building and grounds it's 1,018, I'm sorry, 0108.
Yeah, I would think probably front-loaded expenses, but I can check into that and get back to you.
If you could, I would appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you, sir. All right, on to the new business. Item 7.1 is an ordinance anticipating additional grant revenue in the general fund 1,000 for 2022 and appropriating said revenue to various budgets within the drug court grant fund 3513 for 2022. This is a grant that the county received, and this is us accepting and then allocating those funds. I do need to make an amendment to this. This was brought to my attention by Treasurer Hill. So on line 12, 28, and 31, you will see references to General Fund 1,000. Those need to be replaced with the Drug Court Grant Fund 3513. So that's a motion to amend. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So 7.1 will be amended. Do I have any discussion or motions on this ordinance? JP Duncan?
Move passage of item 7.1 as amended.
A motion to pass item 7.1 as amended to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Second by JP Simons. Any further discussion or questions? Any public comments? All right, we have a motion to pass item 7.1 as amended to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Duncan, second by JP Simons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 7.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 8.1, an ordinance anticipating additional revenues of $904,275 in the DEM grant fund and appropriating the amount of $904,275 from the DEM grant fund to various Homeland Security budgets for 2022. This is a grant we received from Homeland Security. Do I have any motions or discussion? JP Duncan?
I move we pass item number 8.1 to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass item 8.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation, second by J.P. Johnson. Any discussion? Any public comments? We have a motion to pass item 8.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Johnson. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 8.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 9.1. An ordinance increasing the pay of an employee in the Buildings and Grounds budget and appropriating the amount of $6,804.42 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to various line items in the Buildings and Grounds budget for 2022. In personnel last night, this was discussed, and this is an employee who was hired on and has received his technical training in HVAC, and we want to retain this employee after we've invested in him, and so this is a raise in that direction. J.P. Simons?
Make a motion. You pass this to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Simons.
Second.
Second by J.P. Duncan. Any further discussion? Any public comments? I have a motion to pass item 9.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Simons, second by J.P. Duncan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 9 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 10. 10.1 is an ordinance adopting and establishing the Detention and Communication Personnel Salary Administration Program within the detention and sheriff's budgets for 2022 and changing the pay range structure for detention and communication personnel. This is last night the sheriff was here. We do have representatives from the sheriff's office tonight if we have questions, but this is to basically implement a step program for the detention and communications staff in the sheriff's department in an effort to retain and attract. Any discussion? JP Wilson?
I had asked earlier in the day if they might be able to give us an estimate of the cost of each of these plans, and I think someone may be prepared to do that.
Chief Deputy Cantrell? Sheriff-elect Cantrell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The cost to implement the detention plan for the remainder of the year is approximately $600,000. We think there's ample money that will be available in the salary sweeps from the detention center. We swept about $222,000 the first quarter. Don't anticipate that changing much unless we can really fill these positions. So we think that this budget cycle, there'll be money in there to pay for it. The dispatch position or the dispatch plan is for the remainder of the year is about $67,000. And again, there are 7 open positions. We believe there'll be ample funds in the salary line items to cover that based on the salary sweep from the first quarter.
That's all I had.
Additional questions for Chief Deputy? Okay. Motions? JP Johnson?
I move we pass it on to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Johnson, second by JP Wilson. Discussion or questions? Public comments? We have a motion to pass item 10.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Johnson, second by JP Wilson. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 10.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 11.1, an ordinance changing the grade of the DEM Executive Administrator / EOC Manager position in the DEM budget and appropriating the amount of $1,366.69 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the DEM budget for 2022. And this comes to us with a unanimous recommendation from the Personnel Committee. Chief of Staff Lester last night explained to us that they resubmitted this position for a regrading after 6 years, and this is the difference that they came up with. It came up with a higher grade. So discussion or motions? JP Duncan?
Move we pass item 11.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Have a motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Duncan, second by JP Usry. Any further discussion? Any public comments? Motion to pass 11.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Duncan, second by JP Usry. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 11 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item 12.1, an ordinance changing the title of Corporal and Adult Detention Officer / Deputy First Class to the ADO DFC Corporal Flex slot in the Sheriff's Office for 2022. I'm going to need some help speaking to this again. Chief Deputy, will you come up here? I tried to follow last night, but I'm afraid I got lost.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is, for lack of a better term, a housekeeping plan. We have people that achieve certain training, certain time and grade that are eligible for promotion, but if they're not already in a flex slot, then our HR department, the county HR department, has to move them from that slot, create new paperwork to move them over to an open slot, and so it creates quite a lot of extra work. So if we can combine them into a flex slot, that once they achieve that, then they can just stay in that same slot. It just flexes forward, and those slots are budgeted at the higher amount. So there is always money left over because they don't all achieve that same status at the same time. So it's more of a housekeeping issue than it is anything else.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Chief Deputy Cantrell? Any motions or discussion? JP Duncan?
I move we pass item number 12.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Motion to pass item 12.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Ussery. Any further questions or discussion? Any public comments? We have a motion to pass item 12.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Ussery. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item 12.1 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item 13.1, an ordinance creating the legal advisor position in the sheriff's budget for 2022. This came to us, I believe, with a full unanimous recommendation last night for Personnel Committee. The sheriff's departments want to create their own legal liaison for their department. And so any questions or motions or discussion? J.P. Ussery?
I move we pass this on to the quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
Motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Ussery. Second by J.P. Simons. Any other discussion or questions? Any public comments? Motion to pass item 13.1 to the full quorum. Oh.
This is for the legal advisor position at the sheriff's office, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to double check because the pace of this goes a little fast. I'm Sarah Moore in Fayetteville. There was some conversation last night that I think we've kind of like glazed over and glossed over, that there were some concerns about whether or not, we already have attorney positions that are in the county that potentially could be doing these roles, especially by the individual statute and the municipal code that actually is in place for those roles. Kind of take a walk down memory lane with me about the investment that we've actually made in the attorney areas. Benton County to our north, who has a similar size population, actually doesn't even have a full-time county attorney that's on staff. We actually gave our current county attorney about a $50,000 raise, I believe it was, and if I'm a little off, I apologize, but a pretty substantial raise. He's making over $100,000 a year for this role, and actually I feel like attends less of the committee meetings, gives less legal advice here recently since that raise. Additionally, we put in place in the last several years a deputy attorney position in the county. That's like a 60 or 70,000 grand investment as well. So it's already over 100 grand. I know that our economy is doing really well here in Washington County and feel very blessed about that. And I think it's really important for us to have deeper conversations about what the responsibilities and roles and how efficient and responsible we can be with the funds and resources we have. I do applaud and I appreciate that Sheriff Helder's team is willing to give up these two positions. But my question is, if it's been two excessive positions that they didn't need, then it's concerning that those didn't come forward earlier to be able to give back to the taxpayers of Washington County. So I would like to hopefully have deeper discussion about whether or not we can't take care of this. I also got in touch with the parish in Louisiana where this head count happens in the sheriff's office. In the state of Arkansas, it's non-existent. But in that parish, they have almost twice the population that we do. So they might have, a more of a workload, and that's the reason they brought them on. But if we continue to just go ahead and push this forward, we won't be able to do the diligence to really understand exactly whether or not the position is actually needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comments? Okay. Item 13.1, we have a motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Ussery, second by J.P. Simons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. Item 13 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item 14, an ordinance changing the pay of one position in the sheriff's budget for 2022 and appropriating $2,164.27 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the sheriff's budget for 2022. This was, Chief Deputy, but I think this was a compression issue when we did the raises last year. If you want to highlight that a little bit more.
Yes, it was a compression issue on a lead dispatcher or lead communication specialist who had got promoted, and then two other communication specialists got promoted this year and moved ahead of her. She'd already been in that grade for year and a half, and just because of the compression and the raises the way they fell, so this would compensate her to the level that they are to gain some parity.
Any questions or motions? A motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Wilson. Second by J.P. Simons. Any more questions or discussion? Public comments? Okay. We have a motion to pass item 14.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Wilson, second by J.P. Simons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 14.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 16.1, an ordinance increasing the pay of the chief deputy treasurer and appropriating $4,095.15 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the treasurer's budget for 2022. This came to us with the unanimous recommendation from the Personnel Committee last night. Treasurer Hill has a chief deputy that he thinks is pretty good, has been good in service. Yep. Did I jump to item 16? I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you, sir. I'm just motivated. Item 15.1, an ordinance changing the title of Deputy First Class to Deputy First Class / Corporal Flex Slot in the Sheriff's budget for 2022. This is much related to item number 12, I believe, that we had.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This relates to the deputies that work the courthouse security here in these buildings that we secure.
Any questions or motions? J.P. Duncan?
I move we pass item number 15 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Usry. Any other questions? Public comments? Okay. We have a motion to pass item 15.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Usry. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 15.1 will move to the full quorum court. Now for item number 16.1, an ordinance increasing the pay of the chief deputy treasurer and appropriating $4,095.15 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the treasurer's budget for 2022. Like I was saying, Treasurer Hill has a chief deputy that's performed very well. He would like to bring that person up to more comparable market and retain a good employee. Any questions or motions? I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Simons, second by J.P. Wilson. Any other discussion or questions? Any public comments? Okay, we have a motion to pass item 16.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Simons, second by J.P. Wilson. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 16.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 17.1, an ordinance changing the title of the building and maintenance technician in the buildings and grounds budget to facilities HVAC technician for 2022. This is related to item number 9. That individual not only getting his accreditation in HVAC, but now they're going to change his title in the budget to match his job responsibilities. Any questions or motions on item 16 or item 17.1? J.P. Duncan.
I move we pass item number 17.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass item 17.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Usry. Any additional discussion or questions? Public comments? I have a motion to pass item 17.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Usry. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 17.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 18.1, an ordinance increasing the pay of an employee in the buildings and grounds budget and appropriating the total amount of $8,607.41 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to various line items in the buildings and grounds budget for 2022. This comes to us with a unanimous recommendation from the Personnel Committee. If you remember, a couple months ago, we gave raises to certain buildings and grounds individuals who had received certain certifications, and somebody was unfortunately left out of that processing. And so this is to make that up. Any questions or motions with regard to item 18.1? J.P. Duncan.
I move we pass item number 18.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass item 18.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Wilson. Any further discussion? Public comments? All right, we have a motion to pass item 18.1 to the full quorum court by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Wilson. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 18.1 to move to the full quorum court. Item 19.1, an ordinance amending ordinance 2022-028 to correct an accounting error. I believe we did this a couple months ago. But part of our accounting every year is we have to close out the grant accounts from the prior year and roll them into new accounts for the current year. And as you can see on lines 28, I believe, and 31, and then 42 and 49 have updated amounts to that ordinance. Any questions or discussion? J.P. Duncan.
I move we pass item number 19.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Motion to pass item 19.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan. Second by J.P. Usry. Any further discussion? Public comments? Motion to pass item 19.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Usry. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 19.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item 20.1, an ordinance appropriating $83,000 from the various funds to the software support maintenance agreement line item in the Circuit Court 3 budget for 2022. I believe Judge Zimmerman's here. Judge, would you like to come and give some background to this?
Thank you, Chairman. So we're asking to move $41,500 from our budget from various line items, and then $41,500 from the Circuit Court Automation Fund to fund a purchase of a right track database. We've had that database since 2010, and it's just out of date. We've had various technical help over the years to keep it running, and the database provider says, we've lived its life, we need to get the new database. And so this database covers all the juveniles that come through juvenile court and JDC. 10 or 12 years ago when we purchased it, we also went in with JDC to purchase it. So this database is not only used by our court, but also JDC to keep up with the ages of the juveniles, the name of the juvenile, their ethnicity, the race, and gender. And so we're asking to use that money to purchase this right track database from Handle Incorporated, and there's an invoice attached as far as an estimate. So really, we're not asking for anything from the general revenue. It's just scrunching our budget. And then the Circuit Court Automation Fund, as I'm the administrative judge, this directly impacts our ability to properly run our court for juveniles. So we're asking for half of it to be paid from that as well.
Thank you, Judge Zimmerman. J.P. Duncan.
I move we pass item number 20 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass item 20.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Johnson. Any other questions or discussion? Any public comments? Okay, I have a motion to pass item 20.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Johnson. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The item 20.1 will move to the full quorum court.
Thank you, Justices.
J.P. Duncan.
I move that we add item numbers 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 to the consent agenda for the quorum court meeting. So all but items 10 and 13. All of those were voted unanimously.
I have a motion to pass items 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 to the consent agenda for the full quorum court meeting by J.P. Duncan. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by J.P. Wilson, J.P. Essery. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, items 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 will move to the consent agenda for the full quorum court meeting. Item number 21, we have a 12-minute public comment period with a limit of 3 minutes per person.
Thank you. My name is Eva Madison. I live in Fayetteville. I am trying to remember a time in the past year when this committee has turned down a request for to spend more money. If you think about what we funded, it's great. We've given raises to the road department. We've given raises to the sheriff's enforcement side. Every financial expenditure that's come through this committee has approved. And what I'm concerned about is, where is the check and balance with making sure that the budget can sustain that? We aren't talking about what new revenue comes in. I know we're sitting on CARES money that we've converted to our own use. I know that we took part of the ARPA funds that we considered to be revenue replacement, but those are finite sums. They're not going to be continually coming in. This committee is tasked with the budget, and I don't hear any discussion about how we're going to pay for hundreds of thousands of dollars of raises on an ongoing basis with reflection of new revenue. And that's frustrating to me. It's concerning to me. I won't be on the court next year, but I think about what it's going to be like when those extra pots of money dry up and we're trying to meet all of these raises and expenditures that we've obligated the county to. We have to meet that with new revenue. And new revenue is not going up to the extent that this committee is approving expenditures. And so I would ask, as a taxpayer, that this committee do a better job of making sure that we can make these ends meet with new revenue, and that we don't just keep saying yes to every single expense that comes along, unless we know we can pay for it on an ongoing basis. Thanks.
Public comments. J.P. Pond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. J.P. Madison brings up an issue that I'm reminded of several times. Before I get into that, several times in the past, we're in great need of providing raises for our county employees. They're the most valuable asset we have, and I sure hate it when we leave, when well-trained employees leave. And several times, as I was going to say in the past, when the raise issue came up, and of course, doesn't really make any difference how much somebody's making it. They'd kind of like to see a little bit more, some kind of pay increase. But I've asked them this question when I had concerns, because we can't look into the future. You know, what do we do if there's not monies to make the payroll? And what we have to do is furloughs. And so I'd ask these employees, do you really want to have that kind of raise, which I don't mind voting for, at the risk of possibly having to live through some furloughs? And just about, well, every time that employee would tell me,
they'd rather take a chance on seeing some furloughs than not have the raise. And so, even though we can't predict the future, we know what we're gonna have to do to hold on to our, like I said, our most valuable asset in the county government. And I'm just kinda maybe guessing a little, but I don't think you'll find employees that would tell you they'd rather have less of an increase, thinking that might keep them from, taking a chance on a furlough someday. It's just a thought. It's just a little bit of something that comes from the county employees. And like I said again, citizens of Washington County, they're served well by county employees. And that's what they're paying their taxes for these services. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Additional public comments? Public comments? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.